What if every single person on Earth, every man, woman, and child, already has a toxic industrial chemical in their blood? Not a fear. Not a maybe. A documented fact. And the companies that put it there? They knew. For decades. Welcome to the story of Forever Chemicals. Alright, listen up, everybody. We are talking today about PFAS, per, and polyfluoroalkyl substances, a class of roughly 15,000 man-made chemicals that have been used in industrial and consumer products since World War II. Teflon pans. Stain-resistant carpets. Food packaging. Firefighting foam. That stuff you thought was just making your life more convenient. Yeah. It was quietly contaminating your drinking water, your soil, your air, and your body. These chemicals are called forever chemicals because they do not break down. Not in the environment. Not in you. They accumulate. They linger. And the people who made billions of dollars off them had internal documents proving the danger, and said nothing. This is the PFAS scandal, and it is one of the biggest corporate cover-ups in American history. So buckle up. Here's what the established science says, and get a load of this, it is not good news. PFAS chemicals have been manufactured and used in American industry since the 1940s. They are now found in the blood of virtually every American, and, according to researchers, in humans all over the globe. The health effects. The scientists have found links to cancer, to thyroid disease, to immune system suppression, to developmental problems in children, to elevated cholesterol. These are not fringe findings from some guy in a basement. This is peer-reviewed research, confirmed again and again. In 2023, researchers from UC San Francisco analyzed thousands of internal industry documents, and here is what they found. The chemical industry, specifically companies like 3M and DuPont, knew about the risks of PFAS chemicals going back decades and deliberately suppressed that information from the public, from regulators, and even from their own employees. These documents reveal clear evidence that the chemical industry knew about the dangers of PFAS and failed to let the public, regulators, and even their own employees know the risks, said researcher Tracy J. Woodruff. And the EPA? Those pencil pushers have had 20 years of chances to regulate PFAS. 20. Attorney Rob Bilott first handed the EPA secret DuPont documents on PFOA, the PFAS in Teflon, back in 2001. DuPont's response at the time? They urged the EPA to restate safety of products and no health effects. Remarkable. In April 2024, the EPA finally set the first ever national drinking water standards for PFAS. It only took them a couple of decades. Progress. Now here's where reputable critics, people on the right side of this issue, are not celebrating. Not even a little. Legal and environmental scholars at Legal Planet have pointed out that the PFAS disaster is a systemic failure, not just a one-time corporate oopsie. Our laws regulating toxic chemicals were specifically designed to prevent exactly this kind of catastrophe, and they failed. The Toxic Substances Control Act, which governs chemical safety in the U.S., is broken. It puts the burden on regulators to prove a chemical is dangerous before restricting it, rather than requiring industry to prove it's safe before selling it. That is backwards, folks. The regulatory review at Penn has noted that despite the clear danger, federal environmental law has failed to protect the public from the growing PFAS toxicity crisis. The Environmental Working Group has painstakingly documented over 20 years of EPA inaction, a timeline of missed opportunities, industry lobbying, and regulatory cowardice. Meanwhile, the chemical industry has not gone quietly. When the EPA finally set those new drinking water limits in 2024, chemical industry groups immediately challenged them in court, arguing the EPA was overstating the risks. You think that's an accident? Please. And the ProPublica investigation into 3M is damning. In 1997, a 3M chemist named Chris Hansen discovered that PFOS, one of 3M's fluorochemicals, was present not just in factory workers' blood, but in blood samples from the general public, people who had never set foot in a 3M facility. Her 3M superiors told her this was a lab error. It was not. Federal law required 3M to report evidence of substantial health risks to the EPA. They did not, for years. The UCSF researchers put it plainly, the industry took a page right out of the tobacco playbook: fund friendly science, attack independent research, and delay regulation for as long as humanly possible. Online communities have circulated several unverified theories about this topic. 1. Government population control. some fringe voices claim that PFAS contamination is not accidental corporate negligence but a deliberate government or globalist program to suppress fertility and reduce population, pointing to the documented link between PFAS and reproductive harm as too convenient to be coincidental. No credible evidence supports intentional deployment. 2. The safe levels cover-up goes all the way to the top. Certain online communities allege that current EPA safety thresholds for PFAS are not based on science at all, but are instead set by industry insiders who have infiltrated regulatory agencies, and that the real, safe, level of PFAS exposure is literally zero. While regulatory capture is a documented concern raised by legitimate critics, the claim that all current standards are entirely fabricated is unverified. 3. Military bioweapon theory. A fringe claim holds that PFAS-based firefighting foam, AFFF, heavily used on military bases, was developed with full knowledge of its toxicity as a covert tool to contaminate surrounding civilian communities near bases, a form of slow-acting chemical warfare on domestic populations. Investigators have confirmed serious PFAS contamination around military installations, but no credible evidence exists for intentional targeting of civilians. 4. Big filter profiteering scheme. Some claim that PFAS pollution was deliberately sustained and expanded specifically so that corporations selling water filtration systems could profit from the manufactured crisis. This alleges coordination between chemical companies and the water treatment industry. There is no documented evidence of such coordination, though the filtration industry has undeniably benefited. Here is where things actually get interesting. Because the mainstream scientists, the reputable critics, and some of the fringe voices all agree on one core point: PFAS chemicals are in the environment, they are in human bodies, and the corporations who made them knew about the dangers before the public did. Where they diverge is on intent and scale. Mainstream science and legitimate critics say this is a catastrophic failure of corporate ethics and regulatory systems, negligence driven by profit motive. The fringe goes further, claiming the contamination is deliberate, coordinated, and malicious. The documented facts, internal industry memos, suppressed studies, 2 decades of EPA inaction, are genuinely alarming enough without needing a shadowy conspiracy. The real scandal is that it all happened in broad daylight, through lobbying, legal maneuvering, and regulatory failure. That, frankly, is more infuriating than any conspiracy theory, because it means the system allowed it. Alright. Here is the truth, as best as the evidence tells it. PFAS chemicals are real, they are dangerous, and they are everywhere. The science linking them to cancer, thyroid disruption, immune suppression, and developmental harm is solid. The evidence that 3M and DuPont concealed this knowledge for decades is documented in their own internal papers. The EPA's failure to act for over 20 years is a matter of public record. There is no credible evidence of deliberate population control or coordinated weaponization. What there is evidence of is a chemical industry that prioritized profit over safety, exploited weak regulations, and spent enormous resources ensuring those regulations stayed weak. The boring, maddening truth is this: it wasn't a supervillain. It was just greed. And greed, left unchecked, contaminated the blood of every person on Earth. You don't need a conspiracy for that to be terrifying. It already is. If this made your blood boil, ironically, it's already got enough chemicals in it. Then share this video, hit that subscribe button, and for the love of all that is good, look up what's in your local drinking water. The Environmental Working Group has a tap water database. Use it. And don't trust the suits to fix this on their own. They have had 20 years. We've seen how that goes.